Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Jack, Conrad, Footy 5, Antonio Conte to Spurs, question mark. There's a lot going on at Spurs. Obviously, if you have the removal of Jose Mourinho after you had a club that was in first in like week 12, and then down to 9th by week 25. Ryan Mason, caretaker manager, interim manager for the rest of the year, finished 7th. Conte coming off of a title-winning performance with Inter in Serie A. First title for them in 11 years, since 2009, 2010. Second highest goal-scoring side, just a goal behind Atalanta, and they score a ton of goals. Stingiest defensively, yielding only 35. Prior season was a similar story. Second only to Atalanta, this time by a much greater margin of 17, but among the stingiest and the best side defensively. So he does a very, very good job. Likes to play that back three or a midfield four with the wide players, just doing a ton of work. Is he a good idea?
I think it would have been a good idea. I don't know. I'm a big Mourinho fan, if you follow the channel, because I had him as my manager of the year for this season. I had Spurs finishing in 3rd place.
And there he is over Daniel Levy's shoulder.
Yeah, I
Mauricio Pochettino on the other side.
I believed a lot more in Jose Mourinho than I probably should have. But
it's true.
I think what Conte is he's similar to Mourinho, where he is a short-term success guy. We'll show the stats in a second. He wins you trophies. He's very successful at building something very quickly, making a few signings in good areas to capitalize on what you already have to push the side forward and to catalyze the side. I think this Spurs team, we talk about Pochettino. I always remark on how good Pochettino is at building up players and building a squad. He did it at Southampton, did it at Spurs. Issue is, you think about like an arc where the side is in their apex.
In the later years as much.
They didn't invest to elongate the apex, and
or to get them to that next level.
Yeah.
They made a Champions League final, couldn't get over the line.
It's tailed off, and Conte would have to come in, make some serious improvements to that defensive area. Midfield, maybe 1 or 2 tweaks as well. They have some good pieces. Kane, Son, Højbjerg, Ndombele.
Looming over all of this and behind all of it is what happens with Harry Kane. Is Conte enough for Harry Kane to sign on for another few years?
I mean, and even if he isn't, if you get £150 million from Manchester City, you have that kind of war chest to make improvements. Conte will eat that up. I forget his name, but they're looking to get a new director of football, also an Italian guy who's very good with transfers.
Yeah.
So to be able to do that, to try and improve things, I think this is a sign that Levy's trying to maybe hand over the decisions to someone else.
The quick fix
more.
Is what it feels like, is what you're saying.
But
so, looking at his history, right, 6 league titles, 1 in the 2nd division in Italy, 4 top level, including 3 consecutive. In his first big managerial job, he took Juventus, the club where he played, to 3 consecutive titles. Then he short stint for the Italian national side before ending up at Chelsea, winning a title there, and then back at Inter, a 2nd place finish and a 1st place finish, as we just mentioned.
Yeah. I think that the only real dodgy area here is his finishes in Europe. He sucks in Europe, it has to be said. I mean, he got knocked out of the group stage season or 2 ago. I don't know. I think he finished 4th this campaign in the group stage. He didn't get out of the group stage.
So he's
once.
a perfect fit for Spurs.
The Conference League, I mean, I don't think they really care. It's like either you get $10 for winning it all or you get nothing for just getting bounced. I think that what he could do is this side, again, has some pieces. Most notably Harry Kane. And if you lose your biggest piece...
checking out his trophy cabinet.
If you lose Harry Kane, then you can potentially try and restock in some other areas. The issue for Spurs is he's not going to bring in long-term replacements. Lukaku, Ashley Young, or Alexis Sanchez from Manchester United, notably.
Ashley Young still playing football. Yeah. Bird poop mouth.
And he plays for Inter. He signs older players, more experienced players who he can trust. And that's why he has success, because he doesn't have to teach a guy how to kick a football.
He's never around long enough.
And I think, you know what, for Spurs, aside that their only trophy in the 21st century was the 2008 EFL Cup, they would love to just have a small taste of an FA Cup.
Take anything.
A challenge for a Premier League title again. I think it's a very interesting one, and it only works if they're willing to put some actual money behind him. And it can't just be money from Harry Kane's sale. I think they need Harry Kane for Conte to come in and
$300
succeed.
million window.
Yeah,
they need.
I think
while Euros are going on, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, I think they're going to need to make some serious improvements, especially in the defensive area. And I think that there is justification for that. I always talk about my defensive Pep Guardiola spending is, yeah, he spends a crap ton, but they can trust him to deliver results. Conte finishing first in his first season in the Premier League is remarkable.
After picking up the pieces from Jose Mourinho. And remember Goose Hiddink had the short term. He got him from, I think they dipped as low as 16th, and he came in as caretaker manager and got him up to 10th before the season was over, and then made way for Conte. And we're in a similar situation here. We talked about it right at the outset, where he's going to be picking up Mourinho pieces and trying to put it back together again. And can he win the league title in his first outing with Man City potentially taking Harry Kane off their hands?
Yeah, I mean, issue is, I think in that 16-17 season, correct me if I'm wrong, but they weren't in Europe. I think they finished like 10th.
No, they were 10th the season prior. That's not them.
So
they didn't have anything.
They didn't have anything in Europe, which kind of made it not. I mean, having Thursday Night Conference League is not going to be easy because you're going to need to add a lot more depth.
The level of competition, though, in theory, they should be superior and be able to take them.
Yeah, sure, but
is Spurs really the 7th best team in the Premier League? No.
Maybe. I mean, I think that you could argue that Leicester have more talent than them, that West Ham have more talent. Maybe not West Ham, but Leicester 100%, every side above them has more talent than them. And that's the problem. You don't have the raw talent that other sides do. That Conte walked into Inter and he had Lukaku, he had Lautaro Martinez, he had some really great pieces there. And I mean, there's obviously issues with the ownership there where they need to make an €80 million transfer profit so they can stay afloat as a football club because the owners are idiots.
Conte's like, I'm not having that.
And Conte's like, and rightfully so. He's like, I won you the first league title. I ended the reign of dominance for Juventus, and this is how you repay me. I have to sell my top scorer. I have to sell Martinez, who's a tremendous developing player. I think he could be a tremendous manager. I think Spurs, if he was to manage them, the most likely outcome would be an invert of this. First season the season after, if he was to have that kind of success. But it would be a likely 24 months, maybe 36 months.
That's his longest stint when he was at Juventus.
You can't really imagine him to be there for that long, and I think that's actually fine because
it's a bridge to somebody else.
It's a bridge to try and maximize the dying embers of this Pochettino group. Kane is in his prime. Son is nearing his prime if he's not in it already. The only players that are really like
you got to need center back help.
Højbjerg is like mid-20s, and Ndombele is probably one of your only good young players. You have a few small pieces here and there, but I think that they really, really just kind of need to capitalize on what little talent they have left because they have some actually great pieces. They can supplement that with some experienced spots in one or two other places. Then they could all of a sudden maybe catalyze themselves into being a very good side. And people criticize Conte teams for being kind of boring. I mean, they dropped 85 goals.
Yeah, no, in his title-winning sides, he is among the league leading in scores and the stingiest defensively. So they play and they score.
I mean, that goal tally in the last two seasons is only surpassed by Manchester City last year, who scored 102 goals, which we talk about how they scored 102 goals and only got 81 points. It's kind of remarkable. And they only conceded 35 too. But anyways, I'm getting off topic.
But no, that's what the hallmark of his title-winning teams is. They score in bunches and they don't concede.
Yeah, I mean, and that 2.45 points per game is tremendous. 93 points in his first year is tremendous. And I don't think a Spurs fan can seriously look at Conte with your nose like you're like, oh, I don't really want that. Yeah. What he is a serial winner. Yeah. He is one of the best options. What are you going to get? Are you going to get Zinedine Zidane, a guy who's won a Champions League when you're not even sniffing qualification for the Champions League? I don't mean to offend Spurs fans, but what Conte will do is he will try and push you over the edge now. And I think Spurs fans, I'm not a Spurs fan. I can't speak for them, but I can imagine that the promises of today rather than the promises of tomorrow might actually be a bit exciting because for far too long under Pochettino it was all right, a few more pieces, build it a bit more. Under Mourinho he was still complaining about new signings versus Conte compared to Mourinho actually sticks around a bit longer than Conte does. Conte's like a 2-year guy. Mourinho's a 3-year guy.
Yeah, he's 2 and 3. I
Yeah.
mean, he's looking at 4 professionals, like top level stints. 3 years at Juve, 2 years at Inter, 2 years at Chelsea.
I think this is the last chance, though. I think Conte is an abrasive manager by all accounts. He's not going to be everyone's friend when he walks in there because he's a winner.
You're going to work your butt off.
And you know what Spurs are? They're a club that has lost a ton. Harry Kane, great player, a loser in terms of trophies. Conte is not like that. So he will make some enemies, and players will likely
win
be
now
against
philosophy.
him. But what needs to happen from Levy, the up top, they need to back him. They need to say, all right, this is the new regime.
Was what we talked about with
Mourinho.
Not with Mourinho, but with Solskjaer at United.
Yeah,
Do you really want to back him versus? Yeah, I want to back Conte with $300 million. I feel comfortable with
I
that.
think Conte at Manchester United would do some real good work. I mean, you just sign a right winger, a defensive mid, a center back, and I would say that they're maybe my title favorites next year with Conte at the helm. For Spurs, the issues are almost their entire back line, except for maybe Doherty at right back.
It's hard to say.
Maybe Reguilon at left back.
I was going to say.
But like he could get a lot more out of the pieces at Spurs. I think that's what you need to aim for, is a guy who can maximize this group, because I think if Conte doesn't work, if you as a club who has won 1 trophy in this century can't get Jose Mourinho, in my estimation, the greatest manager of all time, Antonio Conte, one of the best managers of the modern era, to work out for you, Pochettino, a tremendous manager, you can't get any of them to win a trophy, then maybe it's on the players, and you have to seriously look at moving a lot of them on.
It's a recruitment problem. I 100% believe that.
And it's also a culture problem, I can imagine. A culture of, it's getting off topic, but I read it was a nice, interesting tweet about Rio Ferdinand saying that Manchester United have surpassed Liverpool because they passed them in the table, riding a 30-point deficit the year prior. People talked about, well, the old Manchester United had an arrogance from Fergie on down, because he said, we're going to win, and we're going to have that kind of arrogance. United don't have that anymore because Solskjaer doesn't bring that arrogance. Conte, he's not Sir Alex Ferguson level of arrogance, and I'm going to win 13 Premier League titles, but he can offer you some more life.
Absolute confidence builder.
I think I will always have more faith and trust in Conte more than the Spurs players. And that's always a weird dynamic when the manager is almost better than the players that he's playing. He should probably augment his players, but instead he's going to dominate a lot of the headlines because he's a winner, the players are losers.
Well,
and until they write that, that's how you have to look at them.
And I think the way Conte manages is the way he played, right? He gets the most out of players that other people would overlook because that's what he was, right? He wasn't greatly talented as a player. He outworked and worked on his craft, and that's what he pushes his teams to get the absolute most out of them, which is probably why he only lasts 2 or 3 years, because he just wears you out.
Yeah, and I think that's what they need, is try and get something out of this, because when we look back 10 years from now on Pochettino's leading Spurs to this meteoric rise to nearly winning a title when they were beat to it by Leicester, and making it to a Champions League final so many times runners-up or third place, they won't have anything to show for it unless a guy like Conte can get something out of it. I think that Conte coming in could keep Kane too, which would be a huge deal. Kane to me seems like a one-club guy. I know he wants to win.
That I agree with. I just think Levy's going to see the needs that Conte has, and he's going to go, I got finances somehow. I've got this massive stadium that I just poured money into. I don't have the $300 million that you're going to need.
But Harry Kane will sell out that stadium. Selling Harry Kane as the very start of your managerial reign, if it's Conte, who has, I think, an unfair reputation of being a bit boring because, I don't know, there's a lot of comparisons between him and Mourinho. Because of
I think he's a better tactical manager than Mourinho, at least offensively. Offensively, he is, I think.
Maybe offensively, yes, but in terms of who would I trust to lead my side to winning a match,
they
Mourinho,
both end up at the same place, which is burning players out 2.5, 3 years in.
But I think that I do worry. The one concern I have, I think I'm all for this, if you can't tell. I love Conte as a manager. I love his fit for Spurs. Based on the facts on the sheet. The issue is I wonder if the players who have already turned their nose up against Pochettino, who was a borderline club legend, against Jose Mourinho, who is a footballing legend, will they embrace Antonio Conte I'm not sure. And I think I said the same line yesterday in the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer one is, doesn't matter if the apple is rotten, Antonio Conte, if the barrel itself, the group of players and the culture is rotten as well.
Where to go.
It doesn't matter how good or clean or not clean Conte is. If the overlying structure is poor, then I think Conte will be the biggest unit of measurement to see if Spurs need to tear it all down and get a Pochettino-like guy, like a Ten Hag from Ajax or a Nagelsmann. He went to
I think
Bayern.
they need a couple of years to figure out who that next young manager is going to be.
Yes, and then try and get them out of this group, and then hit the reset button with a new manager, another Pochettino. Pochettino, really quick, was rumored to come back. I just think that's just too nostalgic. He's just not going to – like, bringing Pochettino back would, I think, necessitate selling Kane and just completely revitalizing the squad with young players.
Yeah, it's another 3 to 5 year rebuild.
And a fresh mindset from the squad.
That'll do it for us. I do agree with you. I think Conte is the right guy given the current crop of candidates that are out there, unless you're going to go and pay somebody to buy a guy out.
Before transfers, what would you say predicted spot for Spurs if they sign Conte?
Well, you're assuming that Kane is
before
out.
transfers, before anything.
I think he's good for a 20-point increase, which would put them on like 82 points, right? They ended up with 62.
I mean, that would be like title. You're on the title. Like that would be.
I think title's probably going to be 90 points next year. I think you're going to have. You're not going to. Maybe you will have the injury flukes that you had this year, but
I'd say fourth if Conte comes in.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a 15 to 20 point increase.
Regardless of transfers, I think fourth or fifth is a very solid prediction for him. I think they're going to improve under Conte.
I think 20 points is achievable for him. That's kind of what he does. He's a turnaround guy, and then.
I mean, could you see the side losing 4 matches less, drawing a few? I mean, potentially. I mean, in their last few matches, they lost to Villa and lost to Leeds. I mean, I don't think. I mean, Conte can lose matches to those kinds of sides, but I don't know. He's not a better manager than Mourinho. I stand by that. So I am. That's my one.
I think for
concern.
the modern footballer, he's slightly better than
that is my one concern is.
Mourinho is.
Like Mourinho, I hope he does well at Roma, so he can prove me right. Because I'm a big Mourinho guy, if you can't tell. But
we'll see.
I'm excited. It's going to make the level of tactical excellence in the Premier League continue to be that much better. And I loved Mourinho at Spurs because there's so many more storylines when there are not. I mean, when you have Guardiola,
he's
Klopp,
entertaining
Solskjaer,
if nothing else.
Conte /
He's
Mourinho.
a personality.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be a short-lived stint if he gets signed, but I think it could be drama-filled. Let's put it that way.
Well, let us know what you think in the comments. Please subscribe. It's free. We have fun doing this. Look for us on the Twitter at the 45. Jack Conrad, this has been the 45. Take care now.